Hi! For a very long time I wanted not simply to draw with resin, but to make a geode. If you want to make one, you can buy such special wooden panels for geodes. They come in different shapes and sizes, like this whole geode shape or such a half. For who is interested, as always, I left the links to all the materials in the description. But first, let's figure out where did this geode fashion come from. In geology, there is such a term as a geode. Who is interested in resin trends definitely saw this word on Pinterest. Roughly, extremely roughly speaking, geodes are such stone balls. Although they are not specifically balls, they come in different similar shapes with mineral crystals inside. If you are curious, I will leave the link to the site where I took all these pictures. You can find there quite a detailed description of this wonder of nature. To imitate the crystal drues inside of a geode, I took the crushed glass from IKEA. It comes in different colors depending on the collection and the season of the year. And almost at the very end of a collection, when it's time for the new one to appear, there might be a discount on the previous collection. It seems like very few people buy this as a decoration for candles, because this glass you can find in the candle accessories section. So I always bought it much cheaper than the initial price of this glass. But now, when this idea of geodes is so popular, you can buy such crushed glass for art in smaller amounts and in different colors. This very glass I will also use to make the uneven edge of a stone. For this I took some masking tape, attached it right on the table, and then I put the panel on it. It is so awesome, and the edges are super smooth, but this time I don't need it. I take hot glue, and while it's still hot, I put the gemstones in it. At first I did it really shaky, but then I realized that by doing it like this, you can form a frame which will keep the glue from draining. For this, you simply need to pour a lot of glue and put a lot of stones. And after that, use this mass to form a frame by lifting up the draining glue by hand. I wasn't burnt at all, although, you know, the glue was really hot, but because I had poured so many stones, my fingers never touched the glue. It's better to leave as it is the excess of stones, because there is a chance that some of them will stick to glue. Next, I simply peel off the tape and keep working on this wavy side. It was much more comfortable for me to work side after side by twisting the base than by spinning around the secured panel. The same I did inside the cut, forming that very crystal drues. I cut off the sticking out parts of glue, and now we can move on to painting. Using a masking tape, I fix the paper, which will be protecting the inner part from paint, and apply golden color to the contour. By the way, I filmed it in summer. Peeling off the tape, and now we can mix the resin. Last time I showed you my resin for resin art, which had become yellow, although it's not big deal, because we will dye it anyway. But the producer contacted me and said that the new resin art sets have a bit different resin with a finalized formula, so the resin won't turn yellow. As always in the set, there were many bright dyes, as well as everything you need to create a painting. I wanted to make some kind of an amethyst, but not its direct imitation like it is in nature, but I wanted to gain inspiration from its color scheme and use everything purple I got. So I found all possible paints and glitter, the color of which was close to purple and transparent white. Common glitter, dyes for resin, eyeshadows from AliExpress, alcohol inks, pearl pigments. In a nutshell, I took everything I saw in my drawer. I mixed the resin in a 2:1 ratio, And I made too much, the whole cup actually, so it was quite difficult to mix everything. I poured the resin into several cups to dye it, and then I mixed some more resin, because in such a case it's better to have some resin left or to pour too much than if you have not enough of resin. Next I begin to dye the resin. For those who doesn't know, these cups are reusable. It means that after casting we can take out the resin and use the cups again. On the side where there were no stones, I made a protective side out of the masking tape. If you make such a side with no gaps, as a rule the resin for resin art won't leak, because it hardens quite fast. But the corners I sealed with my glue gun anyway, because there were some gaps between the stones and the tape. And while I was making the side, the resin, which had been already mixed, finally hardened a bit, and it's really important when you make a geode. I begin to pour resin from the edge. There is golden paint on white, which mustn't be seen, so here I take non-transparent colors. To be honest, I a little miscalculated the amount of this color, so the line on this side turned out thinner than I needed, but the white color saved the day. I added a few lines to the left side with a wooden stick and then poured another color. The resin didn't spread as fast as it could because it hardened a little, so it left the lines I wanted. Moreover, it won't really mix with the neighboring colors, it will only make a slight gradient. Usually, when resin is liquid, two neighboring colors might start blending together, and as a result they will make a gradient. Because it takes a lot of time for resin to harden, and these are liquids, so they blend together. And here the resin is pretty thick, so the lines are sharp. To make a super thin line, you can use a tool, a wooden stick, or you can quickly move the cup over the resin, but I advise you to do it when you have little resin left. It's not a strict rule to pour resin close to the previous color. You will have a chance to fill the gap later, but in this case, watch your resin to avoid such a touching of two layers like it happened here. Although it depends on the idea you follow, maybe it will be just the other way around and turn out pretty original. With the remnants of colors, I fill the gaps and complete the veins. The resin is really thick now, I think you see it well. For us it means that the drawn lines will rest as thin as they are now. And while I was focused on the center, I didn't even notice that the white color had a reaction with the neighboring colors. If you are not happy with such blots in your creation, try drawing a line to the edges. It will help to stretch them when the resin is already quite thick. Also, I added some gemstones to the center next to the stone edge to smooth it a little and make it less like a sticking out edge, to make it blend with the composition. So, some of the stones which got into the resin sank a little and it looked much better than before. My panel lay at an angle, so it's better to check with a spirit level before doing resin art whether your working surface is even. But, as you've seen already, my resin gradually drained to the top during the whole process of work. So I tried putting some tissues under the panel to level it, but because of this situation, some of the layers drained into each other. If you look here, where it is clearly seen, it has given quite an interesting effect, which looks nice in a geode. The side, which had been covered with masking tape, needed our attention. The silicone glue easily came off, but still, the resin drained a little in two spots. It needed fixing, so I painted the large stones into the same golden color and began using them to fill in the gaps. And no, this time moss wouldn't save the situation. Also, I faced the problem of some crystals falling off the sides, because you saw it with your own eyes how they had been attached. Some crystals were glued literally on a millimeter of glue, so I poured a little of resin on all edges. Some of you may ask me, but what do we do with it now? Well, it might be an element of some decor, or you can hang it as a painting, or you can put it on something as a painting. Isolu even made a table out of it. And I, considering the shape we wanted to make, I've made, but I don't know what it's called like. In general, it is like a doily for a table on which we put things and they stay here for an ongoing basis. So it's something like a decorative zone for permanent table things. Maybe a pretty vase, tissues, and this coaster thing can be on a desk, a coffee or a kitchen table. The main idea is to be against the wall. That's why I didn't really complete that side, which was straight, because I wanted to cover it, to make an arrangement with some other decorative elements. And I have a question for you. Tell me, would it be interesting for you if we made a set for resin art with one of my ideas? And what idea would you like then? Well, I hope this video was interesting and useful for you. Many thanks to my sponsors for support. I love you this much. Bye!